What's up, millennials? Should you sell your SPAC before the merger is completed? That's the question we are going to look at today, because today we're actually going to take a look at 5 completed mergers to see what happened after the merger date. Before we start, a few things first. First of all, Discord. I made a free Discord channel for everyone to join, which is available at nesami.com/discord. Secondly, Stock O'Clock. These are very short 1-minute videos with news about the stock market that I post every single trading day. Third, don't trust me, verify. I'm only just a random dude on the internet. I'm not a financial advisor. And fourth, and this is very important, the valuations that I always do are just pro forma valuations. That basically means these are just guesses, estimates from the SPACs, from the companies themselves, and these are not exact numbers, right? But as we are going to see in this video, these could be used as guidelines. First of all, let's take a very quick look at a list that I made with the SPACs that are completed and also SPACs that are not completed. So this is basically a list of all the SPACs that I did valuation videos for. So if you see a ticker symbol in this list, then there should be a video with that ticker symbol as well about the valuation of that SPAC, right? So first of all, let's go through a few things. We see a few things. We see the amount of tickers, so we see just the ticker symbols of the SPAC or the completed companies, completed mergers. If it's a green cell, then that means that the SPAC has already been completed, the merger has already been completed. And then you see a few things. You see a few estimations over here, so a low, a midpoint, and a high valuation. These all come from the videos that I made about these SPACs. So basically, this is the low valuation for this SPAC, midpoint valuation, and high valuation. Then in this column, you see the current price per share as of, well, what is it today? It's the 14th of January. And then you have a list of differences between the low valuation compared to the current valuation, a midpoint versus current, and a high versus current. Then as you can see, if the stock, because this list is sorted from most undervalued to most overvalued, right? So as you can see, companies or SPACs like CFII, NPA are right now most undervalued compared to the valuations that I did for these SPACs, whereas a company like Switchback Energy seems very overvalued, right? We can say many things about this. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to look into 5 completed SPACs because as you can see, we got 5 completed SPACs: Romeo, Hyliion, Canoo, Luminar, and Fleet. We're going to talk about those 5 to see what kind of effect the merger date had on these SPACs. Let's first start with Fleet. Fleet was a SPAC that was trading under a ticker symbol PIC. I did a valuation video for this with quite low estimates compared to other SPAC videos that I did. Actually, a lot of people went kind of mad in the comments and a lot of dislikes because usually people feel personally attacked or something like that. To be honest with you, those valuations from the video were probably on the low end, but these were just based on the investor presentation, right? So those were not my opinion. But as we can see, I first of all drew these blue lines in these charts. A blue line, a vertical blue line, basically means the day that the merger, or actually that the stock was trading under the new ticker symbol, right? So here on the 22nd of December, Fleet started trading under the ticker symbol XL instead of PIC. And usually when these mergers happen, usually 1 day or 2 days before the merger vote has actually happened, right? Okay, so what happened? Well, right after the merger was confirmed and right after the stock started trading under the ticker symbol XL, the stock went up 90% the day after. It was 86% to be exact. It was right after my video as well. Now we actually do see a major correction back down. So we first had a massive move up, but very quickly it did come back down. Let's see how many percent from bottom or from top to bottom. That was a little bit more, like 42% more or less came down in a very short amount of time. So what we did see here was that Fleet was actually trading above my valuations, but again, as I said, those valuations were probably on the low end. Now we're still comfortably trading above those valuations. So yeah, that also means that my valuations were probably on the low end. But it's interesting to see that First of all, we have been trading over here, then we get the ticker change to XL, we have a massive move to the upside, and then very quickly after we see a major correction back to the downside. So that's example number 1, XL fleet. The next one is the company Luminar, right now trading under the ticker symbol LAZR, which was actually trading as the SPAC under the ticker symbol GMHI. This was a SPAC that I talked about when it was still like $10 or $11 even. And when I did my valuation video, I said that the midpoint valuation was about $22. Not a lot of people were talking about LiDAR just yet. That is actually becoming more and more popular. And the SPAC merger was actually approved on the 1st of December, and it started trading under this new ticker symbol on the 3rd of December, which is where this vertical blue line is right now. At the time of that ticker change, my midpoint valuation was at $22, right? And we were still trading at below $20 the day before the ticker change. So that means that LAZR, Luminar, was actually slightly undervalued at that point. So that's also probably why we saw this massive run up to the upside. Then it became quite overvalued, I believe. And then we saw a very big correction as well, and now it seems to be consolidating within this region between like $30 and $40 more or less. So we see a few similarities here with XL Fleet and Luminar, that right after the merger it goes up a lot and then it comes crashing back down, right? Third example is Canoo, right now trading under the ticker symbol GOEV. Beautiful ticker symbol, which was first actually trading as the SPAC under a ticker symbol HCAC. I actually made a valuation video about this yesterday, I believe, and I said that the midpoint valuation was at around $16. Well, this company, this SPAC, was actually approved on the 21st of December, and it started trading under the new ticker symbol GOEV on the 22nd of December. So that's where the vertical blue line is again. And as we can see, it was trading at around, well, it opened at around $23 at that day. So if you compare that to the midpoint valuation, that would mean that it was at that point overvalued, right? Then we saw that immediately it came back down right away. It corrected, well, actually a little bit too much, I would say, back down to almost $12. And now it seems to go back up, possibly also fueled by the rumors about a possible collaboration with Apple as well. But it's interesting to see that we see a slight difference here with regards to GOEV versus XL Fleet and Luminar, right? Because at XL Fleet and Luminar, we first saw a move up, and then we saw a correction. But with GOEV, with Canoo, we saw that correction happening right away, right after the merger date. Example number 4 is going to be Hyliion. This is actually one of the oldest SPACs. When I did a valuation video for this, it was already way later than the SPAC had actually completed its merger, right? Let's see. So the valuation, the midpoint valuation, was at around $20.50. Probably this was my biggest mistake of 2020 because I just didn't know a lot about valuations just yet. Right after this got approved, it was approved on the 1st of October, and it started trading under the new ticker symbol HYLN on the 2nd of October. Before this was a SPAC trading under the ticker symbol SHLL. And as we can see, well, if the midpoint valuation was actually $20.50, well, this was trading at around like $50 at that time. So that means that it was at that time massively overvalued, right? And as we can see, just like Canoo, it came down right away. And it also looks like, well, it started trading with nickel. I'm not going to show you that exactly because it doesn't really matter that much, but it corrected all the way down to about $15. And that seems to be a major bottom for now. So it's currently trading below that midpoint valuation of $20.50. But when the ticker change happened, when the merger date was actually completed, we saw a massive correction to the downside because it was very overvalued at that point. So here we see a correlation between Canoo and Hyliion on the one side and Luminar and the other SPAC we've been talking about, XL Fleet, on the other hand, right? And then the last example we are going to take a look at is Romeo. But before you would do so, I actually did notice something very interesting. I just noticed it during this video. that if you look at the midpoint valuations, if you look at the most undervalued SPACs, you see that the midpoint valuations are usually rather on the high end, right? Well, above $30 and sometimes even above $40, right? But if you look at the most overvalued SPACs, you see that these midpoint valuations tend to be like between $15 and $25 more or less. So it basically looks like the lower the midpoint valuation is with regards to simply the dollar amount, the higher the likelihood is that it becomes overvalued. And vice versa as well, the higher the midpoint valuation is with regards to just the dollar amount, the more likely it becomes that is going to be undervalued, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen to especially these SPACs, so CFII, NPA, CLA, and TPGY. But we are now actually going to take a look at Romeo. So as we just saw with Romeo, we saw that the midpoint valuation was relatively high compared to the other SPACs, right? Midpoint valuation for Romeo was about $44. And well, if we see that, we can see that the merger vote was actually completed on the 29th of December, then it was approved. And it started trading under the new ticker symbol RMO instead of RMG on the 30th of December, so the blue line over here. And as we can see, it started to sell off immediately and it started to correct back down, even though the price, price was actually relatively undervalued if you compare it to the midpoint valuation, right? So that is interesting to see. I'll also say that this stock was probably trading with QuantumScape as well, which was at that time also selling off, but that's not something we're going to look at right now. But what is interesting to see is that it did sell off immediately while it actually was undervalued, if you would agree with the pro forma valuation, of course. So what kind of lessons can we draw from this analysis? Well, as we have seen, it's not exactly clear, but in general, the valuations could sometimes be used as guidelines, right? In the case of Hyliion and Canoo, for example, we saw that the price at the merger date, was actually relatively high compared to the midpoint valuation. And that meant that the stock actually came crashing down right after the merger date. But as we saw with Luminar, for example, and maybe also with Excelfleet if my pro forma valuation was not correct, then we saw that the price was actually relatively low compared to the midpoint valuation on the merger date, right? So then what we saw was first a short move up within a few days or something like that, and then the correction back down. So in all 5 cases, we did see that either the stock went down right after if the price was relatively high compared to the midpoint valuation, or it went up a little bit and then came back down if the price was relatively low compared to the midpoint valuation. But the general trend is that it's actually going to correct itself right after the merger date, either right away or within like a week or something like that. Now keep in mind, of course, that this is a very low sample size. It's just 5 stocks we have been analyzing, but it's interesting to see that all of these 5 SPACs do see a correction right after the merger date or slightly after the merger date. Now let me know in the comments if you've noticed any other trend during the analysis in this video. And with that being said, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye. What's up, millennials? Should you sell your SPAC? That's a difficult one.